Hi, David.
Hi, Bonnie.
We've known each other for a long time.
A long time, yeah.
How long?
Way back. Oh, many years. I can't remember.
I met you 2 months ago.
It's like dog years. I meant like dog
Oh,
years. Yeah.
right. Okay.
2 months is like 5 dog years. But yeah, we met at Sailor's Party.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on something together, but we'll talk about that later.
Right. I remember that day at the party. I walked straight up to you guys
Yeah.
and I introduced myself.
What inspired you to walk up to us?
And I didn't know anybody. So I was like, I flew all the way from Taiwan. I might as well just make some friends.
Right, but you could have approached anybody there, but you chose to approach our group. Why?
I know what you want to hear. And I'm going to give that to you.
Okay.
Because
what do
you
you want?
guys look the most interesting and chill and laid back and cool. Like that's the cool kid area.
Yeah, it was the cool kid area. Your instincts are correct. And now look at us. Look who we are now. We're both in Taiwan doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so who is Bonnie Chang for my audience?
Okay. Wow. That's a very deep question. I run a YouTube channel called Bonnie Blockchain. So
Yes.
it talks about blockchain, crypto.
Just to confirm, blockchain is not your last name, right?
No.
Bonnie Blockchain is the channel. Everyone should check out Bonnie Blockchain.
Thank you. Yeah.
Very good channel.
So most content are in Chinese. Some are in English.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started it because I saw this gap in the market because I was like, most crypto content are in English. And like a lot of people don't understand it. So I translate all the content to Chinese type. Yeah.
Okay, why did you start your channel?
Why?
Yeah.
Who's interviewing who?
It's your show. I hijacked it.
No, okay. Wait, what was your question?
Why did you start your channel?
Okay. It was COVID, right?
Yeah.
So I started buying Bitcoin way back because I had a really good friend that
Okay.
was mining. I was living in Dubai at the time, and he's like this guy with ADHD. Like he has so many ideas, and he would actually go and do it. Like one day it could be like he want to start this modeling agency, and he wants me to invest, or like the next day would be
He wanted you to invest or model?
invest.
Okay.
Invest. Yes.
Presumably you could have done both, but anyway, continue.
Yes. Okay. No, I can't do both.
Multitask. You're good at that.
No. Like you have to starve yourself.
I gave you
can't
a
really
compliment,
do that.
Bonnie. Just let's move on.
Okay. The next day it could be, hey, I want to start this jewelry shop.
Yeah.
And you should invest. And then the next idea was, hey, I started mining in my own bedroom. And I was like, are you crazy? What do you mean? And he was telling me about Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
And he said, you have to start mining this and that. I was like, there's no way. This is crazy. Like, what do you mean you're mining this internet money? But he convinced me to buy some, right? So I was just holding. And it was not that expensive back then. I moved back to Taiwan, COVID hit, and I was working for a television company. And it was like a variety show.
Yeah.
With, like the Asian style.
I do.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
all the very cute stuff.
Is this online? Can we find it?
Yes, no, you cannot.
Okay. Freudian slip.
Yes, you can. You can. We had cheerleaders on,
Yeah.
all these really pretty girls, fortune tellers, like very interesting
Sure.
people on
Yeah.
the show. But then later on, I was like, you know what? For traditional media to run, they need a lot of, I don't want to say clickbait, but they want like this relationship, open relationship with like 5 people, like all that. I don't find it fulfilling at all, like after a while. So I was like, I need to start doing my own thing, and which is investing either stock or crypto. And at the time, crypto was really hot, right?
Yeah.
So I started researching out. There weren't many crypto YouTubers in Chinese. So why don't I just start one? So yeah, it's been 3 years.
I know you have questions for me, but for my American, Canadian, European audience watching, it's a shame that your channel, and I told you this offline when I saw you last month, it's a shame that your channel is primarily Mandarin. She does a lot of good English interviews as well. People should check that out. But it's a shame because I really genuinely think your content is better than a lot of channels in the West for a few reasons. One, I think you explain things clearly. Crypto is not an easy concept to explain to the layman, and you do that very well. But you don't dumb it down for people. You know, you don't explain just the service. You go into depth and you analyze things on your own. You dissect other people's research reports, which is people are lazy. People don't want to read a
Right.
10-page report from Masari, but you
Yeah.
do that for us, which is really important. And the flow of the conversation with your interviews, but as well as your solo presentations, I find really good. It's easy to follow. And, you know, I don't even like watch you. I just put in the background while I'm doing something. But my litmus test, which is how good a channel is, if I'm doing something else and not even watching the channel, I just listen. Do I learn something after 15 minutes? If the answer is yes, then it's a pretty good channel. So I encourage people to, I don't know, download it, translate it audio into.
Or maybe just watch the interviews.
Watch the interviews. We'll be doing a lot of those later. But
Such a great compliment. Thank you.
well, I meant it. It's people should check out your channel. Yeah,
You speak fluent Chinese.
I fluent is a debatable term.
Fluent,
I can order in a restaurant.
fluently. People
Yeah.
don't know you're from
That's
Canada.
a good compliment too,
Yeah.
considering that I haven't really spent much time here. I grew up in Canada, but I was born in Taipei.
Okay, so you grew up there. You moved there.
I did. I moved to Vancouver when I was 4.
So your Chinese should be like 4-year-old level, but it's not.
3-year-old level.
3?
3. Is there a big difference between 3 and 4? Google Translate helps me out because I go everywhere and I translate the text, but I can have a conversation. We can do this in Chinese if you want.
That's not. And okay, your background and your story. Can you tell us how you got into YouTube?
Sure, yeah. Yeah. Well, I did finance at McGill. So that's a school in Canada,
I know,
Montreal.
I know.
Okay. And I wanted to work in finance.
Because
I don't know, I liked money. But the study of finance isn't just about money, which is why I do my show, and I'll get to that. The study of finance is to understand the world. One of my
Yes.
favorite investment professors in school, it was called Applied Investments. His name was Ken Lester, and I just love the guy. He told us that to be a good investor, you have to have worldly knowledge. So for 2 semesters in a row, it was Applied Investments. We were given $250,000 Canadian of the school's endowment money, real money to manage. So you had to apply for the class. And anyway, we put in groups of 4. We had to manage real money. And for the entire semester, 2 semesters actually, 1 semester, and then we had summer break, and then second semester, we didn't really talk about finance. We weren't taught math or derivatives or calculations or formulas or theories. We just talked about the world. He just gave us books to read, books that had nothing to do with finance, philosophy, like science. He just encouraged us to go explore whatever it is that we were interested in outside of our core studies, which was finance. And he said, look, to be a good investor, you have to put your money into things that you really understand. And so if you don't understand anything besides the theories that were taught to you in the other core classes, like math and whatever, you can't invest in anything. That really got me passionate about studying finance because I was studying everything around me that I enjoyed learning about. So then I did macroeconomics research right after school for a firm called BCA Research. I did that for 5 years. I rotated around. I was an analyst. And I really enjoyed it. After about 5 years, somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn. They said, hey, we have an opportunity as a producer for this company that has a media side. And would you like to come in for an interview? At the time, I was thinking of transitioning into another job. I wasn't sure about media. I don't have a lot of media experience prior to that. I worked at a school newspaper as an editor, and that was about it. I really enjoyed that. I managed a team of like 90 people, so like the management part of the job. But
nice.
I never envisioned myself as a journalist. I wanted to work on Wall Street. That was like my goal. So I was like, all right, I'll take this for a couple of weeks or a couple of years maybe, and then I'll put this on my resume. It could be interesting. And then when I apply for an MBA, I might stand out. I don't know. That was my thought process. So I did that for 2 years as a producer. My manager at the time, the anchor left, and then they were like, we don't have anyone to be on camera. Like, you do it. So I and some other reporters were just thrown into the spotlight. They liked me, so they kept me. I did that for 3 years, and then afterward, I decided to start my own channel. This was late 2022. I made the decision to quit and start my own channel, doing similar things, but that channel was more commodities focused, and I wanted to be more general finance because I wanted to expand into a broader audience. And so I started my own channel in 2023. The David Lin Report. I couldn't think of anything more creative. I'm not a very creative person, Bonnie.
I'm Bonnie Blockchain.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay.
I think yours is
and me
better.
both. No, you have the word blockchain in it. Mine's just my own name. So that's basically my story in a nutshell.
Okay. A lot of questions there.
Sure.
Growing up, what was your relationship with money?
You told me this was a chill interview.
Is this not chill?
These are really deep questions. Okay, my relationship with money.
I'll start first.
That is, but yeah. Tell me what you mean by that.
As in, like, I never really learned how to invest or like how to budget, you know, because that's just not how my family worked. And so I started investing into like very conservative blue chip stocks after I started working.
How old was this?
How
old
was
were you?
Like 22. I started putting money into like blue chips. Yeah, I was very conservative until crypto. And that was COVID.
Well, that's an interesting statement you just made. Crypto
Yeah.
wasn't conservative for you.
It's Are you kidding?
Well, yeah, we'll
Crypto
talk
is
about
definitely not. Okay, so I was like the most conservative investor. Blue
Yeah.
chip, TSMC, that type, you know?
that. Yeah.
Like big companies.
So Taiwanese stocks.
Like US stocks too, but
Okay.
only like Mag 7, like big one.
Okay, 22. This was like, I don't want to review how old you are, but this was a while ago. So
Yeah.
the Mag 7 back then is not the same as it is now. Okay, that's interesting. And so was there like a mind shift that you had at some point
With
in your
crypto?
life with your investing style? Because you're taking on presumably more risk now. You're
Yes,
less
yes,
risk averse
yes.
than maybe you were before,
Yes.
which is interesting because people usually get more risk averse when they age.
Okay, so I heard a few people told me, hey, you are too young to invest in the most conservative stocks.
So you were influenced by peer pressure.
I was. No, that wasn't pure pressure. It was like, you are right. I can take a little more risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I did that and I got burned a few times. Like the reason why I started the channel is because it's like a journal of my learning experience as well. I'm learning like everybody else. It's just maybe I spent a little more time doing this because this is my full-time job, right?
Okay, so let me answer your question. Growing up, I never thought about money because, like, I was taken care of. I didn't have a job when I was 12. You know, why do I have to care about money?
Yeah.
I come home after school, there's food on the table,
Yeah.
and
What is money?
it's like, yeah, the concept of money didn't really exist until I got to college, and then I had to start paying my own bills. You know, I thought of money in the sense when I was growing up. You asked me when I was growing up. I thought about money in the sense of how much it could buy like toys and things that I could
Yes.
relate to at the time, right?
Yeah.
I was like really into music. Actually, my dream was to become a musician. That didn't work out, and so now I'm doing podcasts. So I thought about money in the sense of how much it would cost to buy a violin or a piano.
This was
But-
till when?
Maybe my mid-teens. I was taking some like entry-level economics classes in high school.
No way.
Yeah, they offered some entry-level economics
Wow.
classes, and then this was like actually college level. They gave it to us in high school, and I started reading about the economy, and I understood. I think that's when I first started to understand that money is not an end to just buy things. It's an end. It's a means to move everything in our lives. So
Wait, you learned that in high school?
it's something that I thought about, right? Because the flow of capital and the flow of money is deeper than simply what you want to buy with it. But anyway, we can get into that later.
No, I want to get into it now.
See, this is why I like Bonnie. She doesn't let me off the hook. When I'm a kid and I want to buy something, and it costs me, I don't know, $10 to go buy some candy at a movie store, at a movie theater. Okay, where did that $10 come from? Came from my mom and my dad. Where do they get their money from? They got it from their jobs. Where do they get their jobs from? They got it from because the economy is functional and capitalism works, and so they're able to have the opportunity to grow their own wealth. where does income come from? These are kinds of concepts that I was not exposed to before I started really thinking about it. We had like stock portfolio like simulations, and I remember the first time I did this, the assignment was you have 1 month, you can buy whatever you want, and the person with the highest returns in the class wins some sort of prize. I can't remember what the prize was, like a grade or something. And I know I did. I was like, I called my mom's friend who was a broker. I said, what do I do? I don't know what to buy. Shh, don't tell my 8th grade teacher. But anyway, he said, well, you have 1 month, so you probably want something that's really volatile. So he just made me buy oil futures. So
At 8,
I was 13 years old at the time.
that is crazy.
So I was like, okay, what are oil futures? He was like, well, you know what oil is, right? You go to the gas station, you buy gas. Okay, and then like he explains this to a 13-year-old quite well. Futures are just instruments that allow you to buy things at, you can not buy the physical, you can buy things that are traded on markets. So anyway, I didn't win. It went down a lot. My relationship with money was always one of apathy, I would say, and just ignorance until I took classes in university.
And you started making your own money. I think that's...
I started making my own money after university. I got my first job
Oh.
after university.
Wait, so, okay, this is very hard for me to understand. For me, I have to earn my own money to really understand what $1,000 means. This means this much amount of work, or like
Or the amount of time you spent making that.
time or effort
Yeah.
you put in. Because when you take money from your parents, it means nothing. It's just a number. Well, at least in my case, like I
Sure.
start understanding money.
My mom made
and
me work for it when I was a kid. She would be like, do chores. So
Right.
people were talking about this idea of bringing up kids like that. What you're doing actually when you're doing that is you're training them to work for other people, as opposed to training them to be entrepreneurs. So my parents were pretty conservative when it comes to like, making money. Actually, that's kind of hypocritical because my mom had her own business, but she always was like, she wanted me to take the safer route, which is to work for somebody else, which is the opposite of what I'm doing now. But so when you train your kids to like earn money through chores and whatever tasks they give you, what you're really doing is instilling them a responsibility to work for somebody else. And so you're training them to be in the workforce. Whereas you could have been like, hey, here's $10, here's $100, go grow that, right? Here, go buy some lawnmower equipment and go down that's what
Yeah.
I would do with my
Yeah.
kids. I would give them like $200, go buy whatever you want. I would teach them like, if you buy this, let's say it's a lawnmower, you could in theory make X amount of money with that piece of equipment if you go down the street and you solicit your neighbors to go cut their lawns. So it's a different approach. But I was given an allowance when I was a kid because my mother made me do the dishes and clean the room and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how it worked with you, but
This reminded me of something. So I used to travel to US a lot, and a lot of American airports, the trolley you actually need to put in like I don't remember, if it's $7 or $9 to get the trolley.
what trolley?
Like the trolley for luggage.
$8?
Yeah. It's not
What currency you're looking at?
US dollars.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah,
okay.
like 7 or 9, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
sure.
So but people will actually leave their trolleys everywhere after they don't need it anymore. And they'll have this staff collecting them and put it back, and everybody has to just pay. So what my dad used to make us do is when we're waiting for a flight, like we're there early, he would just ask us to go collect trolleys and like sell them for $5.
Did you understand as a kid, like, okay, if I profited $5, let's say,
Yeah.
I could buy something with it? Like, did it mean something to you? Did
No,
you
it's
have like
just-
an urge as a child to like buy things?
No,
No.
no.
So you didn't have a need for money.
No, but that was like an interesting way of teaching kids, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's legal, but
I don't think there's a law against it. I don't think there's a law against it. Technically, it's child labor. But so if you're under 16, you're breaching child labor laws.
I think everybody was happy. They're like, oh, instead
Yeah.
of spending 7, now I'm spending 5.
Right.
It's great.
Right. Yeah. Why were you investing when you were 22? And I'll answer the same question.
Why was I investing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. Like there was just money sitting in the bank doing nothing. Right?
You could have bought stuff with it. You could have
Well,
wasted your
I
money.
bought my stuff and I still have some money left. And It was just sitting there. I don't need it.
I mean, you were old enough to understand that if you had bought stocks like you did, you could have lost money, right? So you did take some risk. I mean, if you wanted
wasn't-
zero risk, you could have bought treasuries, you could have bought money market funds, you could have just collected at low yields, right? But you chose to buy equities.
Right. I don't know if I was thinking that much.
Okay.
Just because.
You just bought things you understood and liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
My first stock was TSMC
Because you liked,
till now.
yeah.
Yeah. And
You held it, you never sold it.
no.
Okay.
No.
Wow.
Why did I want to buy stocks? That's a good question. I don't know. It's just because, like I said, I never really thought about how money worked until I started really studying it. I used to look at it in terms of how much I can buy. Like, oh, like right now I can buy a car, and later I can buy this, I can buy that. Like my net worth can afford a certain type of thing. But then, like you said, it could, like later on you realize money is just a tool to move things or like to help you with things. I don't look at it as what can I buy with this. Instead, I look at it as what can I do with this? Like who can I hire, or like what type of production can I upgrade and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your relationship with money completely changes once you start running your own business.
Oh, yes.
Well, at least for me, I don't think about money as what do I buy with $10. I think about how do I grow my business with $10. Everything I do, does this add value to my company and ultimately my net worth. And I have a budget for things that don't do anything for me. Like there's just fun, and the rest of it is like, does it actually add value long term? Right? I think about money as everything I do is an investment into my own company. I've disclosed this many times in other interviews. I own 0 public securities right now.
Oh.
I have some Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana that I bought years ago. I never sold it. I don't trade it. I just leave it there.
Does it stress you out?
No, I don't care.
Right.
I really don't care. Like it's just there. And yeah, I am not invested in any companies right now because I'm still in the startup phase. So every dollar that I have is invested into my own company. So I am invested. I'm just invested in the David Lin company because I have more confidence in my own ROI if I know that if I hire somebody or expand someone's salary or buy some equipment or invest in a trip or whatever. I can reasonably estimate how much return short-term and medium-term and long-term I could make from that investment. Whereas I have no idea what TSMC is going to do next month. Do you?
I don't.
You're speculating, whereas I'm investing. There's a difference.
Okay, stop attacking me.
Okay. Do you feel that way?
I feel like I'm being attacked.
There's nothing wrong with speculating. But every time we buy a stock, we're speculating. I'm not just singling out. Every time you buy NVIDIA or anything, you're definitionally speculating. Benjamin Graham's book, who was the mentor of Warren Buffett, in The Intelligent Investor, and I think chapter 2, he outlined the difference between speculating and investing. And he has a very simple definition. It's just the degree of risk that you take. If you believe that you know for certain, because, I don't know, you have insider information that TSMC is going to have good quarterly earnings next quarter, you're not really speculating, you're investing. But you don't have that information. I have information as to how I'm going to do, my company is going to perform in the next quarter. So that's the difference between, for me, investing and speculating. I'm investing in my own company now, and then as soon as it grows big enough, I'll diversify into other things so that it's not just dependent on the cash flows from one company.
The TSMC example, though, how I look at it is you get a bunch of smartest people on Earth working on something that is benefiting the world, and you are owning a piece of it.
I have a piece of ice stuck in my mouth. Oh.
Karma.
She's kind of
for attacking me.
I'm waiting for your counterattack because I know that's what you're gonna do.
It's not an attack, but how I see this is, well, you own a piece of the smartest people working on the smartest product.
Sure, yeah.
Right? I can work on my own company, but I also want to be a part of that. That's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like being a part of something you really trust or believe in, right? But this is that, like TSMC. But then earlier I said a lot of crypto are not that safe or not conservative is because after Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, there was a period of time I started investing in a lot of projects I did not really understand. And that is, I think, a mistake. because
Why are you called Bonnie Blockchain and not Bonnie Finance or Bonnie Money or, you know?
I talk about finance and stuff, other
I,
things.
that's exactly why I'm asking you this, because your channel was pretty diversified in its scope. You talk about ChatGPT, talk about AI. Actually, it's an interesting story because I told you this, right? That my cousin,
Yeah.
he watched your show and he has nothing to do with finance, so she's pretty well known in Taiwan. So he was like, "Oh, wow, you're meeting Bonnie. I watched her show."
Nice.
Anyway, you talk about AI a lot, so I'm just curious why you branded yourself as a blockchain
It's
channel.
because it's too late to change my name.
No, it's not. It literally takes 5 seconds.
It's
It's a
too late.
conscious decision, so I want to get into that. You decided not to change it now. Why?
Just because I thought it was too late. The moment I was like, hey, I might want to change it to something else, I was like, I was already at 150K. Not a lot, but I was like, there are a bunch of people.
150K subscribers. Oh no. Oh no. It's too late.
It is too late. As in, like, I was like, there was a group of people that are already used to
Yeah.
you being called that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
you're
I
absolutely
will.
right. Yeah.
Like, you're trying to make me invest in my own company, sell my own stock, all of my stocks, and change my channel name.
I'm not giving you financial advice, but you do what you want.
Yeah, I thought about it. But this channel is still mainly crypto.
I see.
Like, when there's a crypto crash, I talk about it. When there's not all finance people want to know everything that's going on.
Is there a crypto crash going on right now? You think?
The economy, how is it doing?
I like this one. She answers my questions with a question.
Yes.
The economy is doing all right. It's the Atlanta Fed GDP Now tracker, which is a forecast of the GDP from the Atlanta Fed, is now in negative territory for the first time in many, many years. So it went from positive 2% GDP growth next quarter 2 readings ago to negative 1.5 to negative 2.8.
How is that good?
That's not good. It's because trade data came in recently and that was really, really bad. Manufacturing data came in really bad. So it's possible that if the data improves next month, it'll go back up to positive. But right now, the forecast is a sharp contraction in the economy next quarter. The markets think so, which is why all week everything's been down. And just yesterday, Trump announced tariffs on Canada, Mexico. Well, he didn't announce them. He put them into effect. And I'm from Canada, so our Prime Minister Trudeau immediately used retaliatory tariffs, 25% on U.S. imports. The Bank of Canada is projecting Canada to be in a recession this year because of the trade war. And the Atlanta Fed, like I told you, is projecting the U.S. to be in a recession as well. So things aren't looking great. It's possible that Trump was just using these tariffs as a negotiating tool. So we'll see if he rescinds them and takes them back after a while. But right now, if we're pricing in information that comes in now, it's looking like probably a contraction. I've talked to many people who have friends who just got laid off this week because their companies know that their sales are going to be down.
You're talking about Canada.
I'm talking about Canada and the U.S.
Right.
Now, what Trump is doing, and I had an interesting conversation with a guest recently about this, what Trump is doing is he's turning David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage upside down. The theory of comparative advantage is that when there is global trade, everyone is better off because you are trading with a partner by producing something that you're better at producing at versus a partner who's not as good at producing that thing. So if I'm better at producing silk and you're better at producing computers, I will trade silk with your computers. But now we're turning that completely upside down because we're putting trade barriers between that. So now I don't want to trade my silk for your computers because it's probably less expensive for me to just make my own computers. So what's going to happen is Trump is going to probably push a lot of other industries around the world and other countries around the world to really start developing their own industries, whereas before they traded with the U.S. China, for example. If the U.S. imposes even stricter tariffs and restrictions on Chinese trade, instead of the Chinese buying U.S. chips, they will just be forced to buy their own. Long term, it's actually a losing proposition for the U.S. So nobody that I've talked to, no economist likes tariffs and the idea of protectionism. You're just objectively better off without any trade barriers.
Imagine if you were Trump, why would you be doing this?
Well, he said this. He wants to use this as leverage.
Right.
He wants to negotiate other terms and conditions with his trading partners, and then he would probably take the tariffs off. Last month, for example, he announced tariffs on Canada. He wanted Canada to have a fentanyl czar, which is somebody in charge of, overseeing the distribution of fentanyl into the U.S. He wanted 10,000 additional patrol officers on the border. He wanted a host of other things, and Canada agreed, and he took them off the table. Well, he didn't take it off the table. He postponed it by a month.
Yes.
And now that month is up. So I think if more terms are met, then it's possible that these tariffs will be taken off. I talked to Art Laffer about this, who was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Trump in 2017. Or was it 2018? I can't remember, but in his last term. And Art Laffer was he worked for the Nixon administration, and he was part of the Council of Policy Advisors for Reagan. So he's very well versed in government. He believes that Trump is a free trader at heart, and he's just using this as negotiation. And Laffer had a good story. One time he actually said this to Trump. He said, Mr. President, I believe you are a free trader at heart because look at your wives. All your wives are imported from Eastern Europe. So
no, he did not say that.
He did say that. Apparently Trump did not appreciate the joke.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, his wives are imported. So I don't think you actually like trade restrictions, he said. So,
yeah, because he's a business guy. So he should know all this, right?
yeah, I mean, look, he understands trade and he understands deal making.
I think
I've read his
deal-making-
book when I was one of his books when I was a 12th grade. Anyway, I read one of his books in high school, and he likes to negotiate with people using, I would say, unconventional methods. He wrote in his book that one of the deals he made in real estate in New York, because he was a real estate developer before president, and he really wanted a building. The guy wouldn't sell it to him. Eventually, they gave him a really high price. He didn't want to pay that price. So what he did was he started slandering that building and convinced everybody else around him that that building sucks and that they shouldn't buy it. So eventually, he drove the price down, and because nobody wanted it, and then when the price was low enough, he picked it up. So he plays hardball when he negotiates, and I think he's using that on the international arena.
So can I say the economy doesn't look good now, but this could just be for the moment?
I think the economy is still strong right now, but the markets are projecting weakness.
But then when everybody believes in something, that's going to happen.
Really, Bonnie?
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
But in this case, we're talking about what the markets believe, and the markets believe that the economy is going to be worse, yes. I mean, whether or not I believe it, see, that's the thing with investing, right? That's why there's a market. If you believe one thing and somebody else believes another, you trade. If everyone believes one thing, there wouldn't be a market because everyone would be selling and there would be no buyers, or everyone would be buying and there'd be nothing to sell. If you think that the market is wrong and that there isn't going to be weakness, you should be buying the dip right now.
I am.
There you go. Bonnie the bull.
But I don't know if I call it buying the dip. I just constantly buy.
Your dollar cost average.
No. I just
Okay, tell us
buy
about
when it's relatively lower. I will invest long term. So the fact that it's 320 or 330 right now doesn't matter to me. Like if I really believe in a company and I know I'm going to hold it for the next 10 years, it doesn't really matter if it's like 300 or 310 or 350.
That's a right approach if you're a
Yeah.
long-term holder, yes.
So am I buying the dip? Yes, I am. But is it because I think it's going to go up short term? Not necessarily.
I mean, it's not even that much of a dip. We're still near all-time highs for the S&P.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about crypto?
What about crypto, Bonnie?
You hold Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Ethereum, and Solana
Yeah.
instead of stocks. So
I don't know what Solana's trading at today. I haven't looked at it. I don't know. See, that my point is I don't. It's just there, and I'm not trading it. I'm not doing anything with it. I just have it. So
but why crypto? Why not stock? Because you say you want to invest.
I did. I traded stocks when I was in my 20s, and I realized I'm not a good trader, so I stopped doing that
Why weren't you an investor? Because with Bitcoin, it seems like
because
you're
I
just
didn't
holding.
have patience. I think it's a personality thing. At the time, I wanted to, I was hanging out with a bunch of like, they call the degen finance bros. And like, I literally went to the bank. I got a line of credit because I was like 21, 22. I just started working and have money.
Oh.
I got a line of credit from a bank and they're like, why do you need it? I said, I literally said this with a straight face. I said, I'm trading stocks, which is what you should tell a bank when you're getting a line of credit, by the way. And the advisor was just like, okay, how old are you? 21. Do you have experience? No. Okay. What stocks are you buying? I don't know yet. Okay, approved.
It was approved?
It was approved.
Wow.
I got a few thousand. It wasn't a lot. It was a few $1,000s Canadian, and I used it all on trading options, specifically covered calls. So a covered call is you buy something and then you sell the option, the cover call. I never sold naked calls. And then that got too boring for me. So I just stopped doing covered calls. I just started trading options. I just started buying like naked calls and puts, and I lost everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really good at this. And my friends were like, why don't you buy something, hold it long term? And I did. I held it. For me, that back then, 3 months was long term. I made like 10% on something. I was like, that's enough. Time to scalp. So I just didn't have patience. If I had held those positions until now, I would have made a lot more. I should have been like you.
Yeah. But you're holding crypto, so.
That is true. So why am I holding crypto? I bought it because I was covering it at the time. So this is 2020. I was a late adopter. I never bought Bitcoin early because I never really understood it. We can talk about that. But I started, for my job as a journalist, as an anchor, I started interviewing a lot of people in crypto. So I was like, I need to educate myself. Yes. And the only way to do that is to buy it and have skin in the game. So I bought it. And then it did force me to look into it a little bit more. And then there was a big downturn, as you know, in 2022. I sold some of it in 2021, not because I knew there was a crash coming. I didn't. I just, I made some profit and I took profits. That was it. And then left the rest there. But the only reason I bought crypto was so I could understand it more. Right now, I don't really care what happens to it. So
you don't care. That's very interesting. Like, I would leave it there. I don't check the price every day, but I would care if it crash. Not that it will worry me, but I will care.
I'm not a hedge fund, Bonnie. I mean, I'm not a crypto fund, right? I don't it's not my main business.
True.
So if my main business crashes, I would care. If the David Lynch stock crashes, I would care.
Yes.
But if Solana goes down 50%, which it did after FTX, I think more,
Yes.
Did I go down? But like did I buy more? No. Did I sell? No. I just left it alone and I did something else with my life. And I think that allowed me to sleep safely. Because, a lot of people leverage themselves to the point where it's like, okay, well, if it goes down, what do I do with my life?
Oh, yeah.
You should never put that kind of stress on yourself for any kind of investment. Like your net worth should not be your determinant of your personal happiness and life satisfaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you just said, because I talk about blockchain and crypto, right? So, I mean, I started trading meme coins for a while. This was like probably a year or 2 years ago. And that was probably one of the worst decisions I've ever made.
But no, because you learn from it.
Yes. The reason why I wanted to start trading meme coins is because I need to understand what everyone else is doing, right? So you can talk about it. I don't like to talk about things that I don't understand. I don't like to pretend that I understand it, right? So that was bad. Like financially, that was bad, but it's a good lesson. So like you said, my focus should be on the main business instead of like all the investments. Like, so later on, I kind of pivot my investment strategy into I'm buying all the things that I don't really need to look at every day.
Okay, so things that aren't very volatile.
Well,
relative to like meme coin.
Yeah. Meme coins, a lot of them, they just survive for 24 hours.
So I think we're on the same page. I think you and I both bought things for similar reasons because we want to learn, not because I expected to get rich from it, right?
No.
Because that's a very different mentality. Because if you wanted to get rich off meme coins, you would have approached it differently. Yeah, you would have allocated different positions. You would have looked at it differently. You would have traded more frequently, whatever, right? But you approached it from a learning angle. I can understand that.
Yeah, and I got burned, David.
Well, what did we both learn, Bonnie? I got burned with options. You got burned with meme coins.
Yeah.
So here we are doing a podcast.
Terrible.
We could have done a hedge fund, but no, we didn't.
Hey, your channel grew very fast. You started
High
a year
praise
ago.
coming from you.
A year ago, right?
No, I started in 2023.
Okay,
So
that's
it's been exactly 2 years.
okay. 2 years.
Yes, actually, yeah. What day are we? Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. How'd you do that? What is different from other channels?
I don't know. I don't know what's different.
Is it because you're funny, or is it because you don't blink?
Do you think I'm funny, Kabani?
No.
Why do you keep laughing at my jokes?
Is it because you ask very smart questions? Is it because you upload very frequently? What is it?
I'm very lucky to work with a lot of really smart guests. The guests make the show. People don't. I like to think people don't watch for me. They watch for my guests. Yeah, I do upload more frequently than I think other channels in the space. I do
Yeah.
like 1, 2 a day. Well, I'm in Taiwan. I'm half on vacation, so I'm doing only 1 a day now.
That's still a lot.
Kind of, and I do that just to keep it going because there's
I
news
don't
every
think
day.
people understand how hard it is to upload that many videos.
Yeah, you just have to sacrifice sleep and a lot of other things.
Yeah. Or like interviews, they think you really just sit down and chat with people, but no, you prep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you prep for an interview? What did you do before this interview?
I researched Bonnie Chang.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, I learned a lot.
No, okay. Let's say you're about to interview like a expert in some field
Sure.
that you're not familiar with.
Sure.
What do you do?
Okay, well, it depends who it is. So if it's somebody I know well, I would just ask him about this week's or today's market movement. Let's say he's a trader or an investor, and we just talk about the news. So my process is I get up every morning. I have a really good team. My producer helps me with topics every morning, and we just look at what's driving the markets that day. And then that would be the program for maybe a trader I have on later in the day. If it's somebody like, okay, I'll give you a recent example. I don't know, Arthur Hayes. I just interviewed him. You know Arthur Hayes, BitMEX co-founder. I just interviewed him last week. Great interview. So we spent a couple days just researching his views. We went through his Twitter profile. We went through his tweets. We pulled up some crypto news and events that maybe he could talk about. Like we talked about Bybit, for example. He tweeted about the Ethereum rollback, so we talked about that. We talked about perpetual futures because he's the founder. He's a creator of that. So you just kind of look at what the guy's done and it's like preparing for any kind of conversation. It's like you go on a date, right? Do you do like no thinking whatsoever? Same kind of concept, right? You have an idea of what you want to get out of that conversation, and you just think about,
I don't.
okay, well,
Don't you just go on a date?
look, not everybody is as naturally gifted as you. Some of us have to prepare, okay?
What do you stand in front of a mirror and be like, "Hi, I'm David Lin." Like how
No,
does
maybe
it
I
work?
should do that. No, but I just think about it's the same. It's the same concept, and the point I'm making is that it's the same concept for any conversation, whether you're
True.
doing a professional interview, or you're on a date, or you're going to meet your mom, or whatever.
It's like if
You
A,
have an
then
idea.
B.
Yeah, you have an idea of what you want to get out of that interaction, and so you kind of, I reverse engineer the result by thinking about the types of questions I would ask or the types of conversations I would like to have, and so knowing that, what is my process? Well, if let's say, okay, I want to interview Arthur Hayes, I want to get his Bitcoin views. Then I looked up all the articles he's written about his Bitcoin views, or what does he think about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve? Well, it so happens that he wrote an article on Medium not too long ago, criticizing the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve for a lot of reasons, and he talked about some other things. He had a $1 million Bitcoin call for, I think, later this year. He actually correctly called 100,000 Bitcoin for this year. These are all things that I wanted to talk to him about, and so I looked it up. So I'm just using him as an example, but it's the same process for everybody.
But like whatever he's talking about, you are pretty familiar with because you are also a Bitcoin investor. Let's talk about like gold. You do talk about gold, bonds, and all that.
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah.
Are you investing in those things?
No, I have nothing besides Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana.
Right. So how do you
Well,
ask
real estate. I
those
own real estate,
questions?
but yeah.
Right. How do you ask those questions?
It doesn't. It's not dependent on whether or not I'm invested. I'm just,
Do you understand it? Like, for
I
example,
hope I do.
Do you?
I hope so.
Do you?
I'll let the audience decide. Let's be specific. So let's say gold, for example, right? It's I've covered gold enough over my career to understand the drivers. So U.S. dollar, real interest rates, inflation expectations, central bank demand, buying from retail investors buying from institutional investors. Chinese demand is really big. So these are all topics that we can touch on for that one particular asset class. And so I just find news regarding those topics. So every asset class has, I would say, macro drivers that are more important for that asset class. And so I just find news for those variables.
What is one guest that you really like having on?
Bonnie Chang.
Oh my God, no.
She's going to cut that out, isn't she?
No, like surprisingly good, or you weren't expecting.
Surprisingly good. No one really surprised me because I went into the bookings knowing who they were. It's like I
Right.
knew exactly how good they were going to be. I think a few people may have changed the way I looked at things.
Who?
I'll give you some examples. So one of my school idols was Eugene Fama, who was the Nobel laureate in 2013. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for his work that he mainly did in the 70s. So it was like a long time ago. And he was one of the people most closely associated with the efficient market hypothesis, which is the theory that markets are efficient and there's different forms of efficiency. There's strong, medium, and weak form. It means that the market participants, all investors in the market, have access to the same information. Basically, what he's saying is you can't beat the markets long term because everybody has access to the same information. In order to beat the markets, you have to have an information advantage, which is strong form efficient, which means you have to have insider info, basically. But for everybody else, we see the news, we see prices, we see whatever. It's information that everybody else has. You might get lucky one year, but averaged it out over a period of many years or decades, you would not be outperforming the market, is his theory.
Okay.
And that really, I mean, I've studied it, but listening to him explain really challenged me, my existence. Like, why am I doing my job if the theory holds that you can't really beat the markets and all I'm doing is asking people how to beat the markets, really, when you think about it?
But do you really believe that? That you can't beat the market?
Well, see, the fund managers I interview don't believe that, right? Do I believe it? I'm not a professional investor, so I don't know. I don't know if I believe that or not. He has enough proof and evidence that he's formulated this theory. A lot of people disagree with him. He won the Nobel Prize for his proof.
I would like to think, yes, we have access to all the same information, but most people will not.
The people
even
that
spend.
he's not saying it's impossible to beat the markets. He's saying the people that do have asymmetric information, right?
Interesting.
If you're somebody who doesn't, over the long term, you will just perform about the same as the market if you're good. And in fact, most actively managed funds
Yes.
lose money
Yes.
over the long term. There was a book, I'm not sure if you read this, David Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. We had to read that in college.
Yes.
He explained, there was a chapter where he explained how, well, he was using an example. There was they got a monkey and a board full of stocks. And they got the monkey to, did you read that? You got the monkey to throw darts
Yeah.
at the board, and
Yeah.
that board outperformed most managers they surveyed that year. I'm not saying
Hey, I
most
feel
managers
like-
are not as good as a monkey, but
I feel like the traditional finance landscape is people using all these big words, selling you things you don't understand. In Chinese, we call it 高大上, right? All the product that are tall, huge, and up there. Like, all the terms they use, they just look very professional just to really make money off the product you buy. They're trying to sell you something they might not even believe in,
that is possible.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, I feel like YouTube or like channels like yours kind of help more people learn about all these things that used to be like those mysterious, like things that are very far away. Like you don't really get economists talking about their views before YouTube. How do you even hear from Arthur Hayes, people like, or Michael Saylor? They won't. They don't go on TV and tell people what they think. But with YouTube and channels like yours, people have access to these type of information instantly. And I feel like a lot of like big names right now, they don't want to, they're trying to explain things in a way they want people to understand now. They used to not want that.
I think you're right. That's where channels like you and me come in. So you take information from somebody else who's like a big name or whoever, and then you filter that and then you explain it in a way that people can understand.
Yeah.
because maybe not everybody understands what Michael Saylor is trying to say, but you explain it in a way that people do. So that's the value, that's the alpha that you add as a channel. It's not so much that you have insider info, or maybe you do. It's that you are able to educate the audience, whereas maybe they haven't either paid attention to a topic before, where they just don't understand it and they don't really care to listen to it. Yeah.
So the hedge fund example, I feel like right now people don't see hedge funds or like those traditional finance people in the way they used to look at them before.
Which way is that?
Which is, they always outperform the market and they always know what they're talking about. They always, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like people you talk to, they are an expert, so they have to have an opinion even when they don't know what's happening. But for you to be presentable on camera or in front of an audience, you need to believe in something. You can't say, I don't know. But I don't, like most people, I think for most people, I don't know.
Do you feel like there's a lot of fake confidence out there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
People who, they're fake gurus. They're all over YouTube.
Yes.
That's an interesting topic on its own.
Yes.
How do you differentiate yourself from a fake guru who's selling a course or whatever?
I just say I don't know when I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to pretend to be the person that, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I make however many millions using this trading method.
You don't rent a private jet and post pictures
No,
of yourself?
I
That's a
don't.
joke.
Yeah.
I know you don't.
I like people just being themselves, and like I like people who are the same on and off camera.
Well, let me ask you this question. Why do you think people watch our show? I don't consider myself an expert. You said you don't consider yourself an expert. I think you're an expert in crypto. But so why should people care about us if we're not experts?
Because, like you said, we do the homework for them.
Okay.
And the fact that we spend more time on it, maybe you're better than, or I am better than the average person that doesn't really pay attention to it. But I cannot say, oh, I know what's going to happen. I don't. But I have an opinion. Well, if I have an opinion, then it's based on all the research that I've done. It's not like, oh, I can tell with all these like charts and lines and all that, like I come up with this conclusion and everyone should just buy in this.
So what we know from this is that Bonnie is not a technical trader.
Definitely
No.
not. No, I don't.
You're not interested? You just don't think it works, or why?
I have no time to do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And technical trading is the antithesis. It's the opposite of what you do. It's a different philosophy, because you want to be a part of a society, if you want to call it that, the TSMC society. You want to be a part of that. You want to own the equity. You want to feel like you're invested in a group of really smart people. Technical analysis is the opposite of that. A lot of technical traders do not know what they're trading. They don't care.
They don't care.
It's a ticker, and they look at it and they just see lines and charts, and they look at the candles and they make forecasts based on whatever the numbers are. They don't really care what the underlying equity or fundamentals are. So it's the exact opposite of what you do.
That sounds a lot cooler though.
Does it?
Yeah. It's
okay.
like,
you don't want to be cool then, Bonnie?
no, I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I think you're pretty cool as you are. You don't need to.
Thank you.
Try harder.
Why do you think people watch you?
Well, like I said, I don't think they watch me. They watch my guests.
You don't think they watch you?
If you replace me with AI that was sufficiently advanced that could ask my questions, that had the same banter as the guest, they would still watch the channel. That's what I believe.
You can say that about everybody. I just do the homework. You
Yeah.
can replace me with an AI. That's
You
fine.
have a really high engagement rate, though. I don't know how you do it, because you don't post. Let's talk about growth for your channel, Bonnie.
Okay.
Because you're growing really fast. When I met you December 31st, end of the year, you were at 249,000 subscribers.
Oh my God. How do you even know? I don't even know.
What do you mean? You showed me your channel, and I remembered.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you're at what, 278 today?
I don't know.
You're at 278 today.
Thank you.
So that's 29,000 subscribers gained in 60 days. That's really good. That's, in other words, that's 15% of your base grown in 60 days. What's interesting to me is that you don't post as often as me. You have like 3-4 posts a day, or sorry, a week rather, a week.
Sometimes even one.
So the engagement rate of your videos is really, really high. Meaning people who watch those 1 or 2 videos a week, they subscribe, or they'll comment. You have like thousands of comments per video, and you just sit there and you talk. Like you don't like. You don't play with a camel, you know, like jump off a building. Like it's just like, I honestly, like, I'm impressed. How do you do it?
Thank you. I don't know. I talk about things that I would find interesting.
Okay.
And not just like the news itself. Sometimes like you get a market crash or, you know, a big event. But what I want to know is what happened, why, and has it happened before? What does it really mean? Instead of like, oh, the market crash. And
see, I think this is why you have a community, because you talk about things that you find interesting.
Yes.
And so if other people find it interesting as well, this is another philosophy. If you think it's interesting, then you probably will find other people that will think it's interesting as well. And then you're building like a bonding community. You know, it's like a lot of people watch you because you have shared interests. So I'm just really impressed at how fast you're growing given how little you're publishing.
I would love to publish more.
Okay. Why?
What? What do you mean why?
Why do you want to publish
Because
more?
I feel like there are a lot more topics that we can cover, but it's just like
What's stopping you?
short-handed.
Okay, well,
That's a that's a topic for another
this is
day.
why you should collaborate with me more.
Yeah, I feel like, for example, all the AI stuff. Why did I start talking about it? Because I'm interested in it, right? I
Yeah.
would love to learn more, but I'm not an engineer. Like, I'm not a tech bro. I don't really understand, so I study it, and
Well,
it's like
what do you mean you study? How do you study it?
I spend time just reading and trying out new tools, you know, all that.
There must be something you're doing that is really making the audience stick. Like your retention, I don't know, I haven't seen your stats, but your retention rate must be really high. Like the audience must watch you from the beginning to at least 3/4 of your video.
I'm sure this one will be high retention rate.
Because of my hair? Or because,
Yes.
okay. Have I blinked enough for you? I just think that you're doing something, and I don't know what it is. I'm trying to ask you. Like, you're doing something that, because you probably think about this every day. How do I make the audience stick to at least 50% of my video?
I don't think about that.
You don't?
No.
I think about that every video I do.
See, I should, but what I think about more is how do I get them to come in? Like click. As in not clickbait, but you have to let them, it's like a shop, right?
So your thumbnail and your headline.
Yes. So I constantly change my thumbnails, A/B test and all that.
How do you get your thumbnail ideas from?
I just draw on a paper and show it to my editor. Yeah.
Okay.
It's nothing too like fancy.
Yeah.
What I do is just in front of a computer, I'm like, okay, well, David Lin should be here. I should be there. And his eyes has to meet my eyes and, you know, all that.
Yeah. He should blink every once in a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Do you think about your thumbnail before you make the video?
No,
I do that.
Mr. Beast does that.
Yeah. One of the people I work with who was an investor of mine used to work for Mr. Beast. So he taught me that. He said, you should start thinking about your thumbnail.
What
even
is our
before-
thumbnail?
This is your show, Bonnie. I don't want to influence you.
Okay, if it was yours,
Yeah.
what would the thumbnail be?
Well, your face. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it should just be your face. I mean, it's like an attractive face. You should just no text.
Oh my goodness, that's a terrible thumbnail.
Maybe a bit of text, but I don't. I don't know. I have to think about this. I don't know what my
Right,
thumbnail
right,
could be
right.
because this is not a market related conversation.
But how do you know how the conversation would go beforehand? Because a
Well,
lot
just
of times,
like you script out your conversations. You send me a bunch of questions.
I
like
send you a bunch of questions, but we're talking about a lot of other questions that are not on the questions.
Winston Churchill, famous quote, World War II. Why are you laughing?
Okay.
He said.
Tell me.
He said, "Plans are useless, but preparations are indispensable."
I like that.
So just because you have a list of questions, you're not following them. I know you're not. But the fact that you've taken the time to think about it has made you mentally prepare for this conversation.
Right. But what I'm saying is for thumbnails, it's really hard because sometimes we could talk about gold and then like a more interesting topic came up and that is better for the thumbnail.
Sure.
I would use that instead.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll see what I'll have to watch this and see what the thumbnail should be.
Yeah. So I look at it as a shop. How do I get people to come in first? And of course, I put a lot of work in the editing and like the script and everything. So I would hope that I have the confidence that people would stay. But first, they need to come in to see, hey, this is good.
I'm telling you, they do stay, or at least me. And like, I don't even watch your stuff. Like, I watch it, and like, my Mandarin isn't that good. I don't understand everything, but you know, it's also like an exercise. Like, how much do I understand? So
How
it's like
much do you
game,
understand?
50%.
That's good.
Oh, thanks.
Because there are a lot of like big words and stuff, you know?
Yeah, stop using big words, Bonnie. Let the ABCs like me understand more. But I feel like the things I do understand, it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. It's like, now I should look into that more as a content creator. It's like, you know, that's a good idea.
What's one secret? How do you keep people watching your stuff?
If it's a secret, Bonnie, I'm not telling you or anybody else.
Oh no, come on, man.
What's one secret? You mean what
Like
do I do?
how do you structure the conversation?
Yeah. I start with the most important topic that I think people would click on. So it varies, right? Let's suppose we're doing a conversation with an investor today or a trader right now. Dow's down 500 points today. So let's start with that. It's just people. I always put myself in the shoes of my audience. There are people who just want to understand what's going on with their money. They want to learn how to make money. And they want to understand the market. So, okay, well, the market's crashing today. Let's start with that. Let's not talk about anything else. Let's just talk about what's driving the news cycle, which is the markets are tanking. So what do? My first question is, okay, is this the start of a bigger bear market? Or is this, like, what do I care about if I'm an investor, right? I want to know if this is going to be even worse or is this the end? So now my guest was saying, well, you know, I think this is just a kind of a buy the dip scenario. Okay, why? So now we understand his logic. Now we get into his logic. Actually, a very important lesson I learned in my very first job working at BCA Research. My manager pulled me in and he was asking me about a bunch of things. And he said, look, our clients pay us for our rationale, not for our calls. Because you have a 50-50 chance of getting any call right. You just guess. And you can get the call right for the wrong reason. That doesn't make you right. That just makes you lucky. So people pay a lot of money for our research because they like the way we structure our thoughts and they like all the facts and figures and research and calculations we've done to support the final conclusion, which is buy this stock or whatever. Could be wrong, but they have been wrong many times, but they still have a lot of clients.
Have you ever interviewed people where you just look at that person, you're like, I cannot upload this interview?
I feel like you're about to share some stories.
No, I've done that.
I mean, I wouldn't have interviewed them in the first place. There are a few interviews that I've done that I haven't uploaded because it hasn't turned out the way I wanted it to. And sometimes, you know, you try to pull the information out. It's like, again, it goes back to, do I find this information interesting as a viewer? And the answer is really, really no, then I wouldn't do it. But it very rarely happens, Bonnie, because I've uploaded 792 videos as of today since 2023.
Wow.
And I only have maybe less than 5 cases where that's happened. So
is it because it's not interesting enough?
It's always my job to pick out information that's interesting. And in a 30-minute conversation, let's say one answer isn't good or, you know, it's not interesting, I'll just cut it out. There's always something interesting in a conversation, I find. So there's always something that's salvageable. And if the guest is not saying something interesting, that's my failure as a host to bring out the interesting information. Because these are people that are really smart that I talk to. So there's always something to talk about. And not everybody is good in front of a camera. Some people get nervous.
Yes.
You know, not everybody is very good at articulating thoughts. Like the really, really smart people that I've interviewed are like Rain Man. They can't talk very well, but they're super smart. So it's my job to like speak to them in a way that allows them to feel comfortable enough to share information. And I speak differently to different people.
What is this right now?
You tell me, Bonnie.
I don't know. I don't know your different ways.
This is me feeling comfortable around you, that I can share my secrets and hopes and fears with an audience that may not have known this information about me. But yeah.
What is the biggest problem with financial news?
I asked you that question.
I also put that down.
Okay. All right. Great minds think alike. Ladies first.
I think, this is from my experience, I don't know about news in Canada or US, but in Taiwan, I feel like a lot of news are copying each other. and they are executed by a lot of interns that don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what the news is about. They copy and paste. They would probably pull out some other information, and because their KPI is either reach, click, or views, they would put down something that they think the viewers want to see. For example, the market crashed like 80%, or like Trump did this or that, you know? Like something that is something that touches the human psychology. Like you just want to click. But do you really learn something from it? Not necessarily. But because their manager or their bosses want, like their KPI should be, hey, I want to see your growth over a year or like 2 years. Instead, they want the report every day. Like how many clicks or how many views did you get today?
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
They're short-term thinkers. They err on the side of being too sensational. I know exactly what you mean. And so their bonus is dependent on the clicks they get this month.
So I don't think the problem is the intern or the staff. It's the bosses.
See, sometimes I sacrifice clicks for quality conversation.
Yes.
Because I know a specific guest will not get me a lot of clicks. Eugene Fama's interview with me, probably one of the most influential things I've done in my career. Less than 50,000 views. But, you know, if my only metric was clicks, I wouldn't have aired that, right? So let me ask you this, and I have an answer to that myself, is what makes you think people click on a thumbnail or a headline? Generally speaking,
Okay.
any channel, whether you're Mr. Beast or you're, Bonnie Blockchain, why do people click?
There are so many reasons.
On a
First,
thumbnail.
every time they click, they get what they wanted, right? Then the next time when this shows up, they want to click again because they know, okay, I'm getting this, standard. You won't give me some bullshit today. So it's consistency.
But what are, let's say, some ingredients that
Thumbnails.
that go into a successful thumbnail?
Oh, just
I have two, but I'll
thumbnail
ask you first.
itself,
Yeah.
colors,
Okay.
font,
Okay.
size,
Oh, sorry. I don't mean thumbnail. I mean just the title, not the
the
image.
title.
Yeah.
Ooh, the title.
Even though I've been told thumbnail is more important because that's what people see first, but yeah.
The title has to ask a question that they want an answer to.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yours?
I think people click for one of two reasons. One, the title elicits an emotional response. Either it's happiness or fear. It's like, oh, markets are down. It's crashing. I'm afraid of losing my money,
Yes.
so I want to click on it and find out. So I'm afraid. Or number two, it presents new information that maybe I didn't know before. The best thumbnails do two things, both of those things. It elicits an emotional response and also gives you new information. Markets are down because Trump, abandoned Ukraine. Okay, that's two things. Right now I'm afraid of markets crashing, but now I'm also not sure why Trump did that. So now I'm curious to click on it. That's just an example.
But you're giving the answer in the thumbnail. Market is crashing because.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot. Should I give the answer in the thumbnail? I don't have a definitive answer. Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. It really depends on the topic. I find that a lot of times stating the fact or just giving it away is actually more powerful. Let me give you an example. Is there gold in Fort Knox? I'm just off the top of my head. There's an audit going on. Elon Musk wants to audit Fort Knox. He
Yes.
wants to find out how much gold there is. Is there gold in Fort Knox? Elon Musk's Doge reveals. That's a good That's a good title. I would click on that.
I would counter that
Okay.
because people, when you upload that video,
Yeah.
people already know the answer. If they're interested in this, if it's a yes or no, people already know. Like people who are
Yes.
interested in this.
That's why I don't like yes, no questions as well. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So like it has to be something that they have not thought about.
So let's suppose they don't find. In this, I'm just making it up. Let's suppose they don't find gold there. Bombshell report. There's no gold in Fort Knox. See, I just gave the answer away. But now I think you're more inclined to click on the second one.
Because
Now it's like this dramatic piece of information that you want to know more about.
I would add, but they found this.
Oh, okay.
But they'll be like,
You know something interesting about Chinese media? I've noticed you can fit more information in a title because every word is its own character, and you have a character limit of 100 words. Sorry, 100 characters.
I don't know if it's true. Yeah, sure.
But you are able to add what you just said because you have higher character. Well, no, you have the same character count, but you have more information to fit in because every Chinese word is maybe 2-3 characters max. And so you can fit more ideas into the title. But whereas in English words are like one word is like 10 characters, right? So you're constrained by the number of ideas you put in the title. So already Chinese creators are at an advantage.
I tend to think it's easier in English. Because, okay, you know how like financial channels, they always say, do this now. In Chinese, you can't really say that. 现在做这个, like, that's very strange.
Well, first of all, you're never supposed to do that because that's financial advice. And that
but what
gets
I'm
you in
saying
trouble,
is, you know, you can, the emotions that you said,
Yeah.
you want to trigger.
Yeah.
If you say, do this now, or
Yeah.
like, you got to know, like 3 things you have to know.
Sure.
It's very hard to express that in Chinese.
Maybe. But going back to your example of stating a piece of information, you can fit more information
True.
because you have more words you can fit into the 100 character limit. That's something I noticed as soon as I started watching your channel. I was like the first, because I can't read Chinese very well. So I'm like copy pasting into Google Translate. And then Google Translate is giving me like this, like 50 word translation. I'm like, there's no way I could, the first thought is there's no way I could fit this into my own title.
True.
And then I thought about it. I was like, yo, it's because Bonnie's channel is in Chinese and you can fit more concepts, not even words,
that's
but
an interesting-
concepts
yeah.
into the title. And so when a Chinese viewer is scanning it like really quickly, it's like already their brain is processing more information.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes, you know, because viewers spend, I don't know, half a second looking at your title and they decide within half a second if they want to click on it. So you cannot add too many concepts. It has to be
Yeah.
just enough.
I've been told 50 characters is the optimal. But I don't know.
You had comments about Chinese subtitles.
I did, yeah. I was, it's a culture shock to me how everybody in Taiwan watches media with subtitles.
Yes.
I mean, I know subtitles help, but
Even in
It's not.
Chinese, not just English.
yeah, I know. Like, you know, you watch like Taiwanese TV,
Anything.
yeah, game shows, drama, news,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, how do they have time for this? Like, how do they do this? Because especially with news channels, like they need a faster turnaround time. It's like, how do you? Anyway, they must be working around the clock. And it's not something I'm used to because, you know, in North America, we don't have subtitles on everything. We do it on our shorts for like social media because, well, the obvious reason is you can't listen if you're on the train or whatever, you're at work. And so you have to look at it. And also it keeps your attention span.
Yes,
But like you
yes.
watch anything on American TV, there's no subtitles unless you are watching Netflix and you select subtitles. But yeah, it's a
I'm
different
jealous
culture. I
because
know.
it takes so much time.
That's the bottleneck for you.
It is. Because in Chinese, if people don't know, one word, one pronunciation can mean 1,000 different things.
Yeah.
And you have to manually select which word. Like, it's terrible. Terrible as in for people that's trying to type subtitles within a short period of time. Of course, there's AI and stuff, but right now, AI in Chinese, it still sounds very robot-ish. Like people don't actually talk like that. So the subtitles and stuff, like I want it to be as natural as possible. So
Okay.
just typing subtitle, I used to type my own subtitles
How long did it take you?
for each video that it would take like 6 hours. Crazy.
You had an interesting question you sent to me. Quantity versus quality.
Yes.
I'm curious I have an answer, but I'm curious to get your take.
I think quantity is at least once a week. But quality is more important. Because you see a lot of big channels, they don't upload that often. But when they do, people will watch it
Yeah.
because they know, hey, I'm getting something out of this.
Yeah.
So for me, if I had to pick one,
Of course, yeah.
yeah.
But you have to see, this is an interesting question because you're assuming they're mutually exclusive. You have to have one or the other. For many channels, it is, you're right.
Yeah.
Stalin, I like quotes. Joseph Stalin had a quote. There you go. How are you able to talk to me for an hour? Like, so much patience, buddy. Quantity is a quality in itself.
Oh.
Think about that.
Do you just write those quotes down?
I have a lot of random stuff floating in my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
True. I agree.
Yeah.
But for people who solo, like YouTuber, they don't have a team. I guess you kind of have
You
to
publish as much as you need
Yes,
to,
yes,
right?
yes.
So this is the way I think about growing my company, because you went back to how did I grow so fast? Actually, I could have grown faster. But anyway, the only metric I care about is watch hours over a month. Views, but more specifically watch hours, because people can click a lot, but if they don't watch a lot, you know, your retention is low, your watch hours still low, it doesn't matter. So what is watch hours? It's just a number of hours that has been accumulated on your channel over a period of time. Let's take a month, for example.
Watch hour?
That is the only driver that I think drives the valuation of a media company, because your sponsors care about how many views they get, your audience. Your main KPI, being watch hours, will determine how popular your content is and how long your audience is watching your show for. And then you can adjust your strategy that way. Your growth rate and how many people you need to hire are dependent on the watch hours you want to target for a certain month. So what are the variables that determine watch hours? It's just two things, really. Break down the math. Your total watch hours equals the number of unique visitors on your channel times the average amount of time each visitor watches. So knowing that, you have two ways to grow your channel. You can either focus on the number of people watching or the amount of time people watch your show or your channel overall, not just one show, but your channel overall. The second variable I think is easier to control. That's just a simple function of quantity. If you publish more videos that are obviously not like crap every day, but like things that are aligned with your audience's interest, the more you publish, the more watch hours you will accumulate just by the number of people. Let's say you have 100 viewers, right? Everybody watches 1 hour a day. Your total watch hours over 30 days is 30 times 1, 30 hours. So no, 10, 300 hours. Wow, I'm also not good at math. Okay. Forget calculus. Anyway, but let's say you all of a sudden double your content. Now you have 2 hours of content every day. The same, assuming, this is a big assumption, assuming you have the same audience who is able to watch your show, now they're watching 2 hours per day, 2 times 10 times 30, that's 600 hours per month. You've just doubled your watch hours. So there's a diminishing marginal returns after a while, right? So finding that optimal, I don't know what that is yet. But you do have diminishing marginal utility after a certain period of time, after a certain number of videos. I believe that number is maybe 3 or 4, but I haven't maxed that out yet.
3 or 4 a day.
A day.
And well, in your assumption, people who used to watch you for an hour a day, they would watch for 3 hours now.
Yes. Or they will watch a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
Really?
The total accumulation would be different. So here's the second part. The first part of the equation is the number of people. You can't get one person to watch your show for 6 hours a day. Nobody will do that, right? Let's say you publish 6 times a day.
Right.
Will you get the same person watching 6 hours? No. That's why you have to grow your audience base so that someone's interested in crypto, someone's interested in gold, someone's interested in real estate. You have different people watching different content throughout the day.
Are you considering how algorithm work?
I don't really know what the algorithm is. It changes I don't know. It changes all the time, so I don't really think about it as much. There are some metrics that are consistent. So in terms of importance, so audience retention is one of them, right? We talked about that. I think audience retention, I think click-through rate is another really important. That's thumbnail. Click-through rate is thumbnail. Audience retention is just the quality of your videos. Those are really the only two metrics that really matter.
What I heard is they'll first push the content to people that subscribe to you, that always watches your stuff.
Sure.
And then if most people click, then they'll push it to a wider audience.
Yeah.
That's why you find when your video reach like a big amount of views, your click-through rate is actually lower because YouTube pushes the content to people that don't usually watch finance stuff, for example. Or
so your click-through rate drops over time?
Drops over time, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
It just means YouTube pushes it to people.
That's interesting.
That weren't familiar with you.
You should aim for a high initial click-through rate is what you're saying.
Initial, yes. But then later on, if I look at my channel, all the videos with the highest views, their click-through rate is not the best.
Okay.
Is because I believe YouTube actually push these to
That is possible.
a new group of audience.
That is possible, especially for finance. Not everyone's interested in finance. And so if it pushes to a large audience, there will be people who won't click on it. You're right. I noticed your videos, more than mine, have a longer shelf life. Meaning you'll post something like, let's say 3 days ago, it would get maybe 20,000 views the first day. And then like I check a week later, I'm like, holy, how's it 120,000? How did that happen? Like, how do you do that?
Because with interviews, I think it's also because I need time to add subtitles and do the editing.
Sure.
I don't want to talk about what's happening right now. I want to talk about like your philosophy, like something that can last for a long time. So even if I click on this video a year later, I can still learn from this.
Evergreen, yeah. You have a different approach than me.
Because right now I cannot make like a video a day. So I would.
This is an example of a good creator because you know your own constraints and you tailor your content around your constraints. Whereas let's say hypothetically, if you had a team of 20 people, right, and your expenses were not a concern, you could in theory film all day, 6 hours a day or whatever. You could live stream, you could do a lot of things. You could have a mix of evergreen content plus current news that you live stream. You know, you can have everything.
Right.
Right. So if I remove the production constraint, you could do all of it. But right now, because you have that constraint, you're focusing on evergreen content.
But I also think if I only talk about current events, that like, why don't they just watch news? Because that's even faster than me, for sure. Like I can't beat CNBC.
Yeah, you can. You can live stream it.
Okay, I'm not trying to play that game. I'm not trying to like beat the traditional media because
you are beating CNBC in many respects because people follow creators like you now.
That is because you talk about a whole different thing. Like they feel like they can relate to you, like the questions you ask. Because I feel like on CNBC or like Bloomberg, they cannot ask dumb questions, but here I can. I'm like, I'm a dumbass. Tell me about yourself. You know what I mean? You are also a viewer. When I'm interviewing you, I'm learning something from you.
Sure,
and I'm imagining, like thinking like, oh, what would the viewers want? Like, what would they want to ask? So I'm asking that too.
Yeah. You could poll the viewers. This is one of the advantages of channels like us is that we can engage with our viewers directly through tweets, community posts, whatever, I don't know, Discord. You can ask people what they want to hear. You can solicit questions by email, which is what I do, and then you can just ask questions that your community want to hear. Whereas if you're mainstream like CNBC and Bloomberg, you don't really have that option, at least not on a daily basis. So I think there's a little bit of disconnect when you're really, really big, and that's one of the things that you have to be aware of when you get bigger in scale, which you will. I'm banking on 1 million subscribers for Bonnie and by next year.
I'll try.
So once you get even bigger than you are now, you will have, I believe, the issue of becoming more distant with your audience because you can't relate to 1 million people. So it's like, how do you make everyone happy? The answer is you don't. And so, the bigger you get, the more disconnect I find you get with your audience. And so you have to find other ways to engage them, other ways to talk to them, other ways to interact with your audience, which is why I'm pushing towards more live streaming because you can actually get comments live. And
when you say disconnect, what do you mean?
Making content that I want versus content that the audience wants.
But that means you grew, not the media company. You grew as a person.
Well, we're always growing as people. There's always topics that I may find interesting that other people won't, right? And so I just don't talk about that. But as I grow bigger and I have to cover more things, there's some people I'll alienate and then other people I won't. And so it's like, okay, how do I make everyone happy? This is my question when I grow bigger. And my solution to that is actually quantity because I can create gold content, Bitcoin content, and stocks content 3 times a day. So the gold people will watch that. The Bitcoin people will watch that. Right. Yeah.
What I find myself doing is, like I said, I like to ask questions, right? But as you grow in the industry, for example, if I learn if now I'm like a DeFi degen, like I know everything about DeFi. Sometimes if I'm interviewing a person that is also a degen, I'll just
Why are
hear
you pointing at me?
I'll just hear what you say,
Sure.
and in my head it will not spark a question because you just naturally think everybody should understand that already. That is you growing, right? But then every time I try to drag myself back to,
Yes.
wait, hold on. I know this because I spent so much time on this, but then for a person that just got into crypto or finance, they don't know what this means. Just as simple as like a futures. A lot of people, you think people know what it is, but I think most people don't.
The hard part for us is explaining what that is in a way that not only is easy to understand, but interesting for somebody. And it's interesting for different people, right? A concept is you need to explain it differently to different people
Yes.
in order for them to relate to you, right? So let's say, what is money for a 90-year-old? They want to know how to protect their wealth and how to retire. So then you explain concepts like that. You explain to a 5-year, how many Pokemon cards can you buy, right? You
Now,
have to
how do you
explain it
make a
differently.
video that reaches everybody?
You can't. That's what I'm trying to say. Understand your demographic, understand your audience, and then cater it that way. You can't reach everyone in the same video. What you can do is make sub-channels or different channels or different videos within the same channel targeting different audiences. But in one video, you can't.
But you can try to reach as many people as you
Yes. If your goal is to have a broad-based audience that is not just crypto-focused, then you have to think of questions that are more appealing to other people who may not be investing in crypto. Or in my case, because I'm not a crypto-focused channel like maybe you, I try to explain crypto concepts a little bit like more as an economist and not so deep, which is where you would come in. Like you would, get in a little bit deeper.
I ask my mom, or I don't ask her, she watches every video of mine multiple times. And
Okay.
she would tell me if she understands what I'm talking about.
She asks you if you understand?
No,
Oh, you ask her.
I would ask her, yeah.
Okay, what did she say?
If it's like over 70%, it's a good video. Because she doesn't know anything about crypto. Well, I would hope that she does now. But, like she's
Yeah.
a mom that don't really care about digital assets and think it's very dangerous and stuff. If she understands 70% and she's like, oh, I learned this and that, it's a good video.
What is her number usually? 50, 70, 80?
No, she would say, oh, 只有一点点听不懂, like only a few here and there she doesn't understand.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I would agree with her because you explain things in a way that I think that's what makes your channel popular is you explain difficult concepts in an easy to understand way or approachable, which is very hard to do because you yourself have to really understand it
Yes.
before you're able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, so there is a constraint because you do more homework than most other people, so you spend more time on every video. But it works out because, like I said, maybe you spend less time on a video than some other channels. I believe you spend a lot more time per video than me. I think that. I believe that. But your engagement rate is higher. Whereas
I don't know the numbers.
I'm pretty sure if I looked at your analytics, that would support my theory. I grow by brute force. You grow because you target your engagement. I think so.
I'm recruiting my troop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what's going to get you to 1 million subscribers? How do you do that?
How do I do
What's your
that?
next step here?
Just to make more videos, more high quality videos. Because I do my own research. But so I want to focus my time on that. So I can't really go that deep into the production anymore if I want to make more videos. Yeah. Right now, like I still watch all the edits and stuff. Like if there's any
If you
errors
had to grow
and
your
stuff.
team,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
would you hire next? What kind of role would you hire
Social
next?
media manager that
Okay, yeah.
Just kind of go through everything with the editors. Yeah, that role.
Okay. All right.
What would you say to yourself if you could go back to when you first started YouTube?
Oh, that wasn't my own channel. That was a long time ago. Not that
Your
long.
own channel.
My own channel. You mean like mistakes I've made, or
It
what would I
could
tell
be,
me
or you could
myself?
be like, good job. You're great.
I never tell myself that. My only competitor in my field is myself from a month ago. I know that sounds very cheesy. But that is the only benchmark. So you put up with me for 90 minutes. May as well put up with me now. I'm just throwing every cliche at the book, but it's true though, Bonnie. I don't care what other people are doing. I should have probably hired sooner. I was very conservative with my cash at the beginning. I could have grown faster. I think that's probably the only thing I would change. Because I didn't start hiring editors and producers until 6-7 months in.
Oh, wait. So you used to edit your own stuff?
Everything I did myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm not that talented, so I don't know how to edit.
Well, you're talented in other ways. I mean, I
Yeah.
set up my own camera, but I literally was filming in my mother's spare bedroom for the first 6-7 months because I didn't know when I would make money. So I moved back with my mom after I quit my job. And I had it was like a spare room like this. She had a room, and I just set up my cameras, and I set up my workstation. I edited everything myself. The first couple months was rough. It was like 14-hour days, 7 days a week. I had enough cash flow to hire people within 4 months, but I was still a little bit like conservative still. So I didn't make my first hire until 7 months. Knowing what I know now, of course, hindsight is 20/20, but knowing what I've done now, I could have just spent my cash a little bit sooner. I would have grown faster.
But that's because now you know you can actually make money.
Yes. In the beginning, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But even when I was making money, I wasn't sure if I could keep making money. Because, YouTubers, they come and go all the time. I was like, okay, it's my third month of being net positive. I was still living. I could have moved out. I was still living at home. I was like, okay, what do I do with my cash? Is my question that I asked. First thing I did was hire an editor. Second thing was move out and get my own rent. And then I grew my team after that.
Nice. If I could answer the same question, I would probably say, think long term. Like, I was worried about the cash flow at first as well. But now looking back, like if you told me in my first month of YouTubing, if you say, hey, one day you're going to work with, let's say Michael Saylor or even Binance and all that.
Sure, yeah.
I would be like, what are you talking about? But then now you actually work with these people and it's like your day to day. Don't you feel that way? Like, I would tell myself not to worry that much.
Well, what were you worried about?
No, worry as in like, is this going to work? And I wasn't worried like I couldn't live my life. I was just like, should I go all in? Because I had a job at the time.
Yeah, this is my question for you. Because you told me offline you had a job.
Yes.
At another media company. And then you started your own YouTube channel as a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
At what point did you think I could do this full time?
When I started feeling like, because when I started, it did not feel like, I don't go around and tell people I'm a YouTuber, right? Because it's like such a new role. But then later on, after I think half a year, I was very comfortable. This is my main thing now. Like the TV host and all that. I don't even feel like I'm proud to tell you I do that. I'm more happier sharing that I'm doing this crypto YouTube. That is when I'm like, oh, it's time.
It wasn't like I've made enough money, now I can do it myself?
I mean, YouTube itself?
I mean, there has to be a point where it's like your YouTube was higher than your salary. And so it was net negative for you to stay at your last job.
No,
right?
no, it wasn't like that.
It wasn't like that? Okay.
No. Because I haven't, like the sponsorship, Google ad is very little, so I don't even look at that.
Sure.
Sponsorship, I think for the longest time, I did not have sponsorship.
Came much later.
Yeah, so that
sponsorship came after you quit your last job.
I can't remember the exact timeline, but I wasn't counting on that.
I see.
Yeah, and when your channel is small, like the sponsorship money is.
So you took an even bigger risk than me.
I don't know, but I had my TSMC, so I wasn't worried. I wasn't that worried. I was worried.
Basically, I was rich, so
No,
I
no,
didn't
no.
really care. You know, if that's the mentality you have to have as an investor. It's like I have enough cash, so if something fails, it's okay.
But you still want to be
Wow.
successful. So I was like,
Humble bragging. This girl.
no, what I was trying to say is
Yeah.
I was still definitely worried about cash flow. Are you kidding me?
See, for me, I believe I took a smaller risk than you, even though I quit my job first.
Why
So
is
I
that a
had-
smaller risk?
Because I had an audience already in the finance
Oh,
space.
right,
You
right,
had
right.
no audience
No.
in finance because your last channel was not finance related, right?
No.
People didn't know you as Bonnie Chang for finance than you for whatever you were doing before. So you have a completely different audience now
yeah.
than maybe before. So you started literally from zero. I didn't start from zero.
I used to have 90% female watching me.
What is it now?
90% watching me as in like my previous work.
Oh, okay.
It was about like traveling and all that, like the girly stuff.
Sure.
Variety show. It was 90% girls.
Oh,
Now
interesting.
it's, I think, 80 something percent
That makes
male.
sense. Yeah. Yeah, you're in a male dominated field.
Yeah.
See, my very first video on my YouTube channel, you can see on my oldest video, had 140,000 views or something.
Wow.
That's because I have an audience already. That's what I'm saying.
Did you like tell people you're going to this new channel? Like
yeah,
how
I
does
was
it
on
work?
Twitter. I have a Twitter account. I
Oh,
mean, I don't have
right,
a
right.
huge Twitter following. I mean, but it was enough to draw the audience. And before my first video, I already had 2,000 subscribers, just people waiting. So
Damn.
so that algorithm kind of helped. The first video was
Yeah.
already pushed to 2,000 people, and then it got pushed to more people.
Yeah.
My first video got 10,000 subscribers. Within the first week, I got 30,000 subscribers. Anyway, the point I'm making is I already had an audience, so it was
The
less
point
risky
I'm
for me.
making is
No, that's you. That's you. You're the queen of humble brags, okay?
okay. Well, I see.
But if I had done, let's say I did the reverse, right? Let's say I went from finance to lifestyle. I would be from zero. So that I wouldn't do that.
yeah. Why did I even do that?
Well, that was the first question I asked you. But what really motivates you, like right now? Because you're successful, you have cash flow, you have your TSMC, you know, it's like you're retired. It's fine.
I'm
but like,
not retired.
But like you could. I'm just saying, why are you still doing what you're doing?
because I still need to learn a lot more. Like there's so many interesting
Right,
people
but you
out
could
there.
do it. Okay, hold on. So there's learning, and then there's producing content. You could learn by yourself by watching videos, reading whatever.
Yes.
You just do that by yourself. Be a private investor. Be a private person.
Don't you think it's cool to be able to talk to whoever you want?
Yes. Is that why you do it?
That is one of the reasons.
Okay.
Like, I could just talk to David Lin. How great is that?
I mean, yeah. I do very limited. You're very lucky, Bonnie. I do very limited interviews.
But that too, and also like a lot to learn. And also, people say, well, financial freedom is not a set number. It's always adjusting as you go, right? So I can't retire
Would there
yet.
be a point where you would stop?
I don't think so.
So this is your career for life.
I would hope YouTube will be around for the next.
Well, I mean,
don't know.
it's not just YouTubing. It could be another platform,
Yes.
right? But you would keep broadcasting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is interesting. Like I'm
good.
having fun. I don't feel like I'm working.
You found your purpose in life. Did you have like a
I don't like to use all these big words. It gives me like this chill.
okay?
Like my purpose and my goal. I ask people about those questions, but I don't.
Yeah. See, it's difficult being interviewed, right?
Yeah.
It's harder being interviewed than interviewing. I find.
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't like the questions you ask. That's good. That means your questions are hard, sufficiently difficult.
What is your purpose in life?
Yeah, it's to educate as many people as I can about finance and economics.
But do you not feel like your purpose changes as you grow?
Definitely. I didn't have a purpose for a long time. Now I found one. Maybe my purpose will change in the future. Maybe my purpose will be to take care of my family. I don't know. But my career focus will always be, purpose will be to, the word, I hate the word influence because that doesn't mean,
See,
Jack
we're
shit.
doing the same thing. I don't like purpose and like educate and
but I do want to educate people.
No, I
because
know.
I think there's a lot of power in educating people. That's why I really like teachers. I really respect teachers, school
they
teachers.
should get paid more.
They do in Scandinavia, but yes, in the U.S. and everywhere else they should. And I think and it's so powerful what we can do, which is educate people online for free. People can watch a Bonnie video for free and learn about whatever, right? That was not possible 20 years ago. You have to go to school. You have to pay money. Go to the library.
I would like to think I'm learning with them instead of educating them because
Do you feel like you need to leave a legacy before you die?
no.
You don't have that ambition? Can I give you another quote? Or am I out of quotes?
Oh man, give it to me.
Do I have a quote quota?
Oh man.
I can't remember who said this, but I like this quote. We die 3 times.
Oh my God, Confucius.
No, not
No.
Confucius. What do you mean? It's Confucius. You
What
don't
is
know what the
like-
quote?
one-
Do you know what the quote is?
We die 3. Okay, no.
Okay, no. What do you think I want to say?
don't know.
No. What do you think I was going to say?
No. Something about like you start living when you realize you're whatever.
No, you die 3 times. The first is when your body dies.
Oh.
The second is when you're put in the grave. The third is the last time your name is spoken.
Okay, come on. That's a little too like dark.
I want to live forever.
Yes, you want to live forever, but do you really think after you pass you care about if people are still talking about you?
Absolutely.
Except
Well,
for your family.
yeah.
Like I want my family to talk about me, but
One day your family will pass. Then what?
then it's fine. At that point, I probably don't care anymore.
Well, you physically can't care.
Yes, exactly.
But what you do in life should have an influence in eternity. Do you not think that? What you do in life should still matter in your death. Do you not think that?
No, I do think that, but eventually it will pass. Unless you're like super successful.
Maybe. But see, we define success differently, right?
Yeah.
For me, success is simply long after me and everyone I know now are gone, people will still talk about my work in some way.
Because it's still on YouTube.
Sure. It's on the internet. The internet doesn't die.
Exactly.
But you think about the people who have built society. We still talk about them long after they're dead. Not all of them are super rich. Not all of them are super famous across worlds. But everything you see around the world, everything you see in your life was created by somebody. And there's always some influence that those people have had, even after they're dead. That's what I want to be in media. So,
I love that.
thank you.
Bigger purpose.
Yeah, I think there's always a bigger purpose than yourself in life. And yeah.
We're doing something in New York together.
Yes, we are.
What are we doing?
There's a great conference hosted by Blockworks, great media company. Digital Asset Summit, March 18th to 20th. And I invited Bonnie to co-host with me
Yes.
because Bonnie is awesome.
Oh, thanks.
And we're going to be interviewing people together.
Some really, really cool people.
Yeah, some really cool people. People can check out the speakers list. I won't reveal any names yet, but people should just tune into our channels later in March.
They can just look at the webpage and see the biggest names.
There's some very influential people, not just in crypto, but also fintech, economics. It's just, I've done this a long time, and this is probably the best guest list that we've put together in my career. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited you're joining us.
Yeah, super excited. This is the first time I joined like a conference in US, I think.
Yeah.
The first time I met people in crypto outside of Chinese speaking region was the Sailor Party, I think.
Okay.
I met you guys, right?
Sure.
And then this is going to be the second time I join any event of
Is this
sorts.
the first time you've filmed at a conference?
Yes.
You've
I
done
don't really
like
go
live
to-
interviews at a conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also don't really go to conferences.
Yeah. And is this the first time you've collaborated with another YouTube channel doing the interviews?
At this scale, for sure.
Okay, so a lot of firsts for you.
Yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to?
Just
for
all
you?
these people I used to, read on the news.
Yeah.
I can actually talk to them. Like,
Yeah,
it's
super
great.
cool. This is
Yeah.
one of the perks of our job. We get to meet cool people.
And you're right about the list, because a lot of times you look at the guest list, you're like, oh, there are a few that are really big, but this time you see all the names you're familiar with.
I felt a little intimidated personally
By who?
by all these people that we're talking to. How do you feel that way? I mean, do you cope with that somehow?
I haven't started.
Thinking about it, you will.
Yeah. I'm going to start feeling the stress. You know how this collects your
Yeah.
data?
It's okay. We'll work on it together.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Bonnie. It's fun.